So I had a near-death experience last year that ended up putting me in the hospital. When I was on the other side, there were these guides that fast-forwarded me like 300 to 400 lifetimes into the future. And then when it came time for me to fall back into my body, they rewound me like 400 lifetimes back into the present moment. So when I came back into my body, everything felt super old. Like even my body felt like an antique, and there was just so much work and upkeep to it, and I didn't know why we were still using them. But I also came back with this perspective that everything in our reality exists because we collectively agree on it on some level. So one of the first things out of my mouth to the people, like to the EMTs, ambulance, the police officers, everyone that was there, I'm like looking around at my body, I'm looking around at the apartment complexes, I'm looking around at the hospitals, and the first thing I say to people is just, we're still agreeing to this? Like I could not fathom why we were settling for the idea of living in an apartment complex. I was like, why? So this is kind of a trick question, and it's something that I don't hear many people talk about when they talk about having an NDE. Some of the worlds that I was going to were completely different dimensions, completely different realities, but it was also clear to me that this was my projection. This was like my future timeline. I think other people will have different ones and they'll visit different worlds and different places. So my future, actually, the one here in the 3D with like nature and stuff was pretty short, but I could see that for a little while I would be getting really close with nature and connecting with it a lot. But then after that, some of my future lifetimes were not on Earth. They weren't here. They were in completely different worlds. We had different bodies. There weren't things like trees or nature or mountains. They were completely different energy worlds. Also, everything was simultaneously happening. So even though I'm saying the future, all of this was coexisting. So it wasn't even me going somewhere in the future as much as just hopping onto a different. After I had had my near-death experience, I met another woman who had had an NDE, and she told me that during her NDE, she met another version of herself on the other side, and this other version of her had been like waiting, watching, and training to incarnate into her body. And when she had her NDE, the spirit that had been inside of her for the first part of her life swapped places with the spirit of her that had been waiting on the other side. Kind of like a spiritual tag team. And after her NDE, she was a completely different person because now she was incarnated by this other version of her that had been waiting to incarnate this entire time. I love this comment because I feel like it sums up how a lot of us are feeling. If you're feeling this way, though, it's really exciting because it means you're part of the new construction team for creating the new world. Like your dissatisfaction is part of your mission, so don't try to brainwash yourself into a different mindset. Lean into that feeling of dissatisfaction. This usually means that you're kind of the Marie Kondo of reality. Like you walked into a house of hoarders and you're just like, ooh, yikes. Like time to clean and change things because this is not working. We're moving from a dismantling into a rebuild. So lean into those feelings and build something new. Literally, now is the best time. Your existence holds together a bunch of different worlds and dimensions from where you come from and where you'll be going. So you being here as part of this cosmic web of realities means that you are helping pull us into the dimension that you came from. So hang in there.